help me welcome Delonda Anderson.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I'm very glad to be here. When Danita asked me if I would like to come speak, I immediately not texted, but I emailed my husband the emoji with the huge eyes. Like, what do I do? Kind of thing. I don't know. So I thought it took me a long time to figure out exactly how I wanted to come here and tell you all about not
Excuse
just
me,
my...
do we have something you can speak into? We can't hear you back here.
Just speak.
We can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, by nature, I'm a very quiet person, so thank you for mentioning that. But it took me a long time to understand exactly what I wanted to talk about. And the thought occurred to me that when you're a writer, you write to live and live to write. So then I thought, well, that's kind of depressing. So then I thought, well, what about planting a writer in Appalachia? And so this is kind of what I've come up with. And then we'll talk about the website too. So the first thing that you plant is the seed. And the seed, to me, is the place. And from all of these, this is where I grew up. It started with the trailer, back in the holler, and then on the very left corner is what my dad built around the trailer. And so all of these are just little things that my dad made, my mom, my great-grandfather's plow gear. Some of these boards in there are from my great-grandfather's. He used to be a carpenter, so. And the next one is the root, which to me is family. And what I tried to do here is put people that were in my life personally. And there's only one picture I don't have of here. But my mom and my dad, my mom and dad up there, that's my brother. My grandmother and grandfather and my great-grandparents are up there. This is my grandmother and my great-grandmother. And I actually have pictures of my great-great-grandmothers, but I didn't know them, so I wanted to put people that I knew. So they're influences, and they hold the root of a writer. Then there's the sapling, which is growth. And I started writing, believe it or not, when I was 6 months old. My dad said I took a pen and I started writing. And I have the scrap of paper and I meant to bring it, but I forgot. And I loved writing little poems for my parents when I was little. I got a lot of praise for it. So, naturally as a child, you're like, oh, I'll write more. And I started reading classic literature when I was 11. So I started with Jane Eyre, and then I just blossomed from there to all kinds of things. I even liked Greek classics. I realized the importance of writing, that writing had in my life. And then in the middle stage, I wrote whenever, wherever, and on whatever I could get. Sometimes, and we were very poor, we didn't have paper, but I had a pen or a pencil. So I would go out and find a leaf and write on a leaf. I had to write anywhere. A napkin, a piece of toilet paper, I didn't care. I just wanted to write. And it was a lifeline for me. And I loved writing poetry. My first published poem was The Unknown Soldier, and it was in the local press. I was very proud. And my family influences. The stories told by my grandparents, my great-grandparents, my parents, and then time spent with them. That is such, I feel so fortunate to have spent time with my great-grandparents. So fortunate. My life situations. Being the daughter of a Vietnam veteran, it was a difficult time in my childhood. But one of the things that after my dad passed, he left his journals. And once I read the journals, I understood everything. It just became so much clearer. My mother lived in a coal camp in Westburn, Tennessee. It's like right on the Kentucky border. We were extremely poor. There, I think I wrote a little article called Potato Soup and something, I can't remember, but that's what we had almost every day, was potato soup. And it wasn't with milk, it was with powdered milk. So, and then, whatever my dad could catch, squirrels or rabbits or turtles or whatever. And there's a stigma about living in Appalachia. There's a stigma about how we speak. There's a stigma about poverty and what comes along with it. And I was odd. I was a very strange child. My mom, we had a neighbor when I was growing up, and I remember I used to talk to trees. And I remember her saying, like, she's so weird. But I was always just an odd child. Then there's the tree. You have an adulthood, which brings its challenges. I wanted to escape Appalachia because of the stigma. I wanted the way I spoke to be more proper wherever I went, So I came back home. I left for 12 years, and I came back home. There were good experiences. I lived in Atlanta. I lived in Fort Lauderdale. There were really good experiences. And I reconnected with my roots. I reconnected with my family. It was hard because, they were angry with me for how I felt. But I became an editor. I worked as regional buyer's assistant in Barnes & Noble. I edited Imaginary Gardens from Pellissippi. I was at Tennessee Mountain Writers. I did win an award for A Week the Wild Cares, which is a fictional story based loosely about my great-grandmother. I wrote a poem called The Tintype for my great-grandmother. I wrote a poem called Iniquitous Orange about my dad's time in Vietnam. He was there, and he tried to get assistance for Agent Orange, and they said he was not in a combat area, but he was. Writing Words, a David Madden interview. I've interviewed him. I've loved every interview I've done. It's been just wonderful. And then maturity, where I am now. I love my people, my heritage, my kinfolk, our history. I love the good history. I love the bad history. For this land, these mountains, Mother Nature, our dialect, our culture, our talent. And I love freelance editing. I have edited books and stories, short stories. Obviously, I edit things that come through Appalachia Bear. And I had a desire, after a while, to highlight a true Appalachia. And so that came with Appalachia Bear. Why and how? I attended a James Agee literary conference at Pellissippi. I'm sorry, can I get my water? Thank you. And while I was there were so many people from Appalachia who just hated being an Appalachian. I heard things like, everybody thinks we have a drug problem in Appalachia. I'm like, we do. One time there was a lady that said, I've never had, all these pictures they display Appalachia, and I never had a washing machine on our front porch. And I said, I did. So it dawned on me that people from the region who were born here, they don't know their history, their culture, their language. They don't know that a lot of the language that they use is from Middle English. They don't know that. And they don't know that they can be creative. And so our associate editor, Edward Francisco, who's a novelist and a poet himself, suggested that we do the Appalachia Bear. He called it the blog, but I said it was a magazine. And just be a venue for Appalachians to be able to write and have their things published. And really to tell the stories, because there are so many stories of my parents, my great-grandparents, my parents, that are buried forever. we have an oral history in Appalachia, and if you don't record it, it's gone forever. So that was another reason. And my husband nicely reminded me that not everybody from Appalachia has to be born from Appalachia. And he's a transplant. He's actually from Kansas. So, excuse me. So now what I do is I continue Appalachia Bear. I continue my writing. I continue freelance editing. I'm working on a fiction novella called Wherefore I Praise the Dead. Its working title, and a nonfiction book called Bloodshine, Moonshine, Mayhem, and Mountain Justice. And that is about part of my family. They're the Darties. They're hellions. I'll just say that. It was interesting. And my poetry and short stories. So that's my little presentation. And now we'll just look at the magazine. I'm not quite sure how to get it full screen. Do you know?
What's that? Huh?
Full screen? How to get to full screen?
I don't know.
Try F11.
Can you scroll?
F11?
Ah, there you go. Thank you. So recently we interviewed Black Atticus. These are articles that people have written, and obviously interviews. So the first articles that come, they go on this letter, and then the next articles, they go downward until it reaches the two at the bottom, and then they leave. They go into archives. So I always try to do something for February. We have a ticker, and we promote contests and things of that nature. Thomas Wolfe, I usually try to find a quote. I try every month, but maybe every 3 months. And these are the top posts. Where you can submit and subscribe the latest, and that's from my family home. And then at the bottom, so up top you have about, and if you click on about, it tells the whole story, one of them, of why. And Appalachia, those are my people there. I tried to use pictures of mine so that nobody would sue us. And then you have Behind the Omnibus, which is pretty much all the people that are involved in this, which is just me, Edward, and my husband, and Grant Mincy, who is our science and environmental scholar. We have links of interest. We're working on that. Scribed is fiction, poetry, nonfiction, interviews, storytelling, and resurrecting forgotten writers. Visuals, art, photography, architecture, performing arts, craft, video, and film. Lyricals, music, ballads, resurrecting forgotten artists. Stories of yore are Our Better Angels, past stories about good people. Scoundrels and Sinners, I think that's explanatory. Way back when, it's like, back in history. Reviews, book reviews, film reviews, music reviews, other reviews. We've reviewed museums. Our Mountains and Us. You have science, which is you have biology, dendrology, and geology, nature, climate, environmental, sustainability, zoology, religion, linguistics, health, herbalism and folklore, granny wisdom, modern medicine and wellness, and food, wildcrafting, agrarian, canning, and recipes. Highways and byways or Appalachian connections. It's like authors who don't particularly, like for example, Mark Twain was not born in Appalachia, but he did have land in Tennessee. wanderings, just, travels, and pastimes. That would be like hiking, fishing, and any other sports. Odd superstitions, the paranormal, that comes along with Appalachia, folklore, and then our entries. We do have contests. We've had a contest every year. We had a poetry, our first one was a fiction, and then we had a poetry contest and photography. I wanted to do a video contest, but we have to fine tune that because I want just 5 minutes because you can't. It's very difficult to judge 30 minutes to an hour video, and we've done some research, and not a lot of people want to watch 30-minute videos, so we're looking into that. But this year we are going to have a fiction contest, a short story contest. That will probably be in August, because in September, it'll start in August. In September, we will have been around for 5 years. So we're doing our 5-year celebration. So, there you go.
How many submissions do you get on an average? A month, or however you want to say?
Well, it's very, right now, we get 20 to 30, probably. Yeah. And so,
Spread among the different topics and
Yes.
so on?
yes,
Yeah.
and then of course our calendar, I try to spread it out throughout the year, and leave an opening for each month. So that's worked pretty well.
And how are you promoted, or how are you advertised that people know about Appalachia Bear?
Just word of mouth, and we partner with certain other places like Appalachian Heritage Museum, Pellissippi. There are professors at University of Tennessee that promote our work. Pretty much, people find out about us and we table. Basically, that's it.
Would high school students be eligible to submit?
Yes.
Are there guidelines for your submissions, like how many words, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Oh, you've got that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just click on
So,
submissions and it'll.
They can go to that and see?
Yes.
Okay.
I do receive, it says 2,500 words here. I do receive sometimes 3,000 words, and it depends on the story and the writing. So, and we'll accept that too.
For your contest, is there a money
Yes.
award?
Yes. First prize usually, except for photography, we had a different way of doing it. But first prize would be $100. Second prize is $50. Third place is $25.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have honorable mention, which we usually have. Two. I've tried to do one, but I was like, I can't do that. So we usually have 2 honorable mentions, and everybody gets it's a Visa card that they get mailed to them, and along with a congratulatory letter and a certificate. So
Oh, very nice. That's incentive. The students would do well, I think.
one of the other things is that I do, whenever things come our way, I do look at it and I do edit, but I do not publish anything that is edited. I want to work with the writer because it's important to me to do that. I would want to be treated that way. I wouldn't want somebody to say, here's my work, and then it doesn't look like anything like I submitted. So anything that I edit, I make sure it's okay with the author. And if it's not, then we can work together. So, and that's also for high school. It's I'm quite gentle with them. Yes.
I'm just curious about your site as a whole. Do you see it as focusing more on contemporary Appalachia, or I see a little bit of history, a little bit of contemporary. Do you have a focus, or are you trying to just catch an overview of the whole thing?
It's what we call all things Appalachia.
Okay.
So it's contemporary, it's historical. It's just everything that's Appalachia. It's also music. We have a music video on here this year that we published. Ballads, lyrics, things like that too. And I'm really interested in trying to get more scientific papers. So, I was gonna, if you were interested in looking at one of these, like if you clicked on particular fiction, it would go to the most recent fictions. So, and that's the way it is on all of our sites, all of our categories. So,
Very well done site. Really nice.
tried to make it reader friendly.
Do you do that? Do you do?
Yeah,
That's terrific.
I do all of the,
Technical,
yes,
wow.
I do all of
That's great.
that, and then all the pictures and images. It's like artwork for me.
It's very impressive. Really, terrific. Any other question? Oh, yes?
Yes.
Nate?
Would you accept chapters from a book? For example, my book is hiking, and I have several chapters about hiking in the Appalachian.
Yes.
So,
Yes, we do. We work with the parameters, like the word length and stuff like that. There are several book excerpts that we've published.
how would I get that to you?
Just in submissions, like when you go to entries, you click on submissions, and then it will tell you how to get there. Like submissions at appalachiabear.com. So
Do you have this?
yes,
And you want 2,500 or less words, is that right?
yes, that's the goal. But if it's over that, then we can work through that. So yes.
I'm just curious, as you give out prizes, how are you funded? Because you're not charging to reach the blog, right?
Yes, that was one of the things that I wanted to do was have no advertisement. And the only advertisements that we do is promoting books. Like, for example, Danita's poetry books. Trailing the Azimuth and Medicine Woods, we made sure that was front and center, and that you can click on, like I put the images of the books, and you can click on the book, and it'll take you to where to purchase it. So those are the kind of things that we want to do. But we have a benefactor
Okay.
for now, but we are working on some nonprofit type of deal, maybe, hopefully.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Write a grant. Okay.
Yes.
What kind of photography are you looking for?
Anything that is that shows Appalachia, or anything that is from a person from Appalachia. Like we had our photography contest. Like this is actually mine. This is from my son's garden. He passed away. That's another reason why I started this. So these are all mine, and then you can click on
They're
the
beautiful.
image.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
we have galleries, and so it's everything that's in Appalachia. And that was also our parameters for the photography contest, is that they had to show something about Appalachia. And the most interesting thing to us was it was all nature. It was all nature photography. No towns or cities or anything like that. So
That represents Appalachia.
yeah.
That's great.
Do you send photographs or just for the contest?
Yes, we do. That's anything that you see up here, on this little thing up here, those are the categories that we accept. It's very, like Denise said, it's very broad. It's the topics are, I tried to make as many topics as I could. So, and some of them repeat into other areas, but that's okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.